What's up, guys? My name is James Blissett, professional gambler and founder of Lucrative MMA, which is my handicapping service where I help people make money from betting on MMA. And I did a good job of that last week. I helped a lot of people make a lot of money from betting on MMA. It was UFC 288, Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling. We had multiple bets on that card and we won over 10 units of profit on that card. We cashed on Virna Jandiroba at plus 150. I personally played her at plus 162. She closed plus 110. So the CLV was good there. The result was good. She dominated the fight up until the third round. She took home a clean decision. We also cashed on Yan Xiaonan, so the only other women's fight on that card. We bet the underdog again. So 2 women's fights, 2 underdogs cashed, and it was around the same price. I cashed on Yan Xiaonan at plus 162. I tipped her at plus 155. So again, another women's MMA underdog that cashed. She looked good in that fight. Both fighters dominated, really. I mean, Yan Xiaonan, first round knockout. Virna Jandiroba went to a decision but dominated the fight. And then we also had Kennedy Nzechukwu to win in round 2 and round 3. Obviously, the round 2 came through plus 500. So we cashed a lot of money on that event, and we're looking to do it again like we do every single week. This year has been insane for profit. We're up almost 70 units of profit for 2023. And we've only just started May. So if we continue on this trajectory, it will be well over a 100 unit year, could even be over a 150 unit year, which would make it my best tracked year yet. But we've had multiple 100 unit years already, and I've only been tracking for 4 years. Out of those 4 years, 2 years we hit 100 units. One was 109 units, and the other year was 99.5 units. So, you know, technically, basically 200 unit years. And we're going to try and do it again this week. We're going to try and win a lot of units. And the main event breakdown today is going to be Jailton Almeida versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. It's a good fight only because Jailton Almeida is going to get to perform once again. And anytime Jailton performs, yes, it may not be the most aesthetically pleasing fight because the dude's just a beast grappler and he basically dominates anyone he fights. And sometimes fights that are uncompetitive, they're not enjoyable to watch, right? But for me, as a fan of the sport, of jiu-jitsu as well as wrestling and every martial art in the game I'm a fan of, I do like to see Jailton perform because what he can do to not only light heavyweights, but now heavyweights, since he's moved up to the heavyweight division, is pretty insane. I mean, go back to his last fight, and we'll speak on Jailton first, and then we'll move into Jairzinho Rozenstruik, his opponent, right? In his last fight, Jailton Almeida picked up Shamil Abdurakhimov about 30 seconds into that fight. He picked him up, slammed him on his back, and we're talking about Shamil being like a 240, 250 pound man. And Jailton Almeida, he used to be a light heavyweight. He's only recently moved up. Not only did he used to be a light heavyweight, but he actually used to weigh in less than the light heavyweight limit. So he wasn't cutting to hit light heavyweight, which is insane when you see him now, because it's like, that dude looks 250 pounds, you know, but he's actually on the lighter side of heavyweight. You know, I think he comes in around 220, 230 pounds. So it's just crazy to see him pick up a man that has 10, 20 pounds on him. And he does this to everyone he fights. You know, he did it to Parker Porter, dominated him, did it to Danilo Marcus, dominated him. You know, he's been doing it to heavyweights and light heavyweights his whole career. So to watch him perform, in my opinion, it is a treat, you know, and it's going to be interesting to see him fight up the ranks, get these wins, and fight somebody that can pose some form of threat to him, you know. And to be honest, this is his first fight where he's actually fighting a real credible threat to his UFC undefeated record. And the reason for that is not because Jairzinho Rozenstruik is also a good wrestler or he's got great footwork and he's going to be able to defend the takedowns, but it's just because he's got the touch of death. You know, so Jairzinho Rozenstruik, they call him Biggie Boy. He's a big boy. He's fairly on the smaller side for the heavyweight division, I would say. But what isn't small is his power. You know, he has power in both hands. I've seen him knock people out with jabs. You know, you go back to Andrei Arlovski. You go back to the Chris Daukaus fight recently. You know, he hurt him with a jab in that fight as well and then closed the show shortly after. The guy has absolute hammers for fists. But the way he throws his strikes doesn't look like he has a lot of power. Like, if you see Francis Ngannou throw his strikes, or if you see Derek Lewis throw his strikes, right? They're both in the heavyweight division. And the way they throw their shots and even the way they look aesthetically. I mean, they're huge men, you know, they cut down to heavyweight. Both of them, you kind of can tell that these guys have power, you know, like, you know that if Francis hits you, just the way he swings those hammers, you're going to get put out cold. But with Biggie Boy, it's not really like that, you know. He kind of touches. He doesn't really overswing. He's a seasoned kickboxer. I think he's got, I can't remember the exact number of fights, but he's got a lot of kickboxing fights. And you can kind of tell that with the way he fights. Just in terms of how patient he is with his striking. I'm not going to say his striking is a super high level, because I honestly don't think it is. You know, I'm not too sure about his kickboxing record, where he fought and stuff like that. But you can at least tell that he has a lot of experience in the game. You know, whether you rate his striking or not. You can tell he's got experience just with the way he sets up his shots and the way he's so patient in there, right? He's not really ever rushing anything or overextending too much. He doesn't really ever overextend, and that's why you never really see him get, I guess you don't really see him get countered too often. You know, it has happened, of course, but usually when people are hurting him or knocking him out, they're the ones on the front foot, you know, because he doesn't really put himself in bad positions to be countered. You kind of have to force the action. We saw what Francis Ngannou did, right? Just rushed him and knocked him out. We saw what Alexander Volkov did, right? Hurt him, backed him up against the cage, hurt him again with a right hand, and just swarmed on him. You know, most of the times he's been hurt in the UFC, it's because the person is pushing the pace on him, right? And that's exactly what Jailton Almeida is going to do. Difference is he's not going to push the pace with the striking. He's going to push the pace with the wrestling, right? And how I see this fight playing out is very easy. I think it's going to be like every one of Jailton Almeida's fights. You know, this is not going to be a long breakdown, guys. I don't need to take 25 minutes to break this fight down. You know, last week we had Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo, and I felt like that warranted a long, in-depth breakdown because it was a very intriguing fight. Both fighters had advantages over the other, and technicality-wise, I felt like I could go in depth and break down the technical aspects of the fight, right? And I feel like it warranted that. And I feel post-fight, I feel vindicated in that decision because we go back and we watch the Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo fight, and it was a split decision. It was extremely close. I actually scored the fight for Henry, you know, but I completely understand Aljo getting it, but that's not the point. It was a very close fight, and there was a lot of interesting technical matchups that were happening within that fight. And so that's why I did a long breakdown, right? And that's kind of what I do. I'll do a long breakdown if a fight is worth it. I'll do a short breakdown if it's not. And in this fight, it's just not, man, because at the end of the day, Jailton's going to shoot for takedowns, and it really comes down to whether Jairzinho Rozenstruik is going to be able to defend the takedowns or not. Now, if you go back and look at his career, first of all, he's a kickboxer, as I said, right? So, first of all, he's not coming in with this great wrestling pedigree like Henry Cejudo was against Aljamain Sterling. So you're looking at it like, oh, maybe Aljo won't be able to get him done. I'm not looking at this fight going, oh, maybe Jailton won't be able to get him done. I'm looking at this fight going, Jailton's going to get this dude down and dominate him, man. I really do think that. And the odds agree with me. He's minus 500 for a reason, right? If you go back and watch the Curtis Blade versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight, you will see that Curtis Blades took him down at will, really. I know on UFC stats it said that he defended 3 takedowns, but go back and watch that fight. He just takes him down whenever he wants, basically. Biggie Boy does an okay job in the first round of getting back to his feet, but in the second round he gets taken down with like a minute and a half left in the middle of the cage, and he couldn't get back up to his feet. And even in that first round where he did get back up, Curtis Blades was able to get a decent amount, a small amount, right, of ground and pound off. And I was just envisioning Jailton Almeida in that same position where Biggie Boy's up against the fence, Curtis Blade was on his back, and Curtis Blade had one hook in. That is Jailton's best position, man. Like, Jailton loves that position when he's not in top control, right? When the fight hasn't transitioned fully to the jiu-jitsu realm, when it's still in the wrestling realm where, you know, Jailton's got his opponent up against the cage trying to take him down. He loves that position. I've seen him dominate from that position in and out of the UFC. So, in my opinion, Biggie Boy has to land a knockout very early in this fight. He has to land a knockout when Jailton's coming in. I don't think Jailton's a great striker. He's got those snap kicks, and that's about it. I haven't really seen much else from him. Even on the regional scene, all he had was snap kicks to the takedown. So I don't think he's a great striker. We saw early, I think within the first 10 seconds of that Shamil fight, where Jailton threw a front kick. The front kick got caught. Shamil held his leg in the air for about 2 seconds. Jailton kind of just stood there and got hit with a big overhand. He took it with a clean, it looked like he got a good chin. But if Biggie Boy landed that on him, hey, it might be a first round knockout. So I think Biggie Boy needs to get an early knockout in this fight. I think once he's taken down, he's probably going to get finished. And if he doesn't get finished, he's just going to be beaten so badly or worn out so badly that he just has nothing in the second round or the third round, and he's going to get finished soon after, right? So I'm predicting Jailton Almeida to go in there, get a takedown, just like Curtis Blades did. And you know, you could say that, oh, he defended a couple from Curtis Blades. And like I said, just go watch that fight. You'll see that Curtis Blades got him down when he wants. But you could say that Curtis Blades is a better wrestler than Jailton, right? And technically, you know, technique for technique, he may be. Credentially, he may be. But if you actually break it down, I don't know if he's more effective as a wrestler in MMA. I'd actually go as far as saying I think Jailton is a more effective wrestler in MMA. He's way more athletic than Curtis Blades and way stronger, in my opinion, you know, much stronger. And so for that reason, I think that it's going to be even easier to get Jairzinho down than it was for Curtis Blades. And that's saying something because, like I said, Curtis got him down multiple times. So I think Jailton's going to get a first round finish here. I don't really know what we're going to do with props in terms of bets or money lines. I'm definitely not going to be playing Jailton Almeida at minus 500. There's just not really much point in that for me. Maybe I'll play some form of TKO or submission because usually they put the KO at plus 300. They always line it at plus 300 for some reason. And he loves the KO. He loves going for KO. So that could be live here. But I don't know. I'll see what submission is lined at. I'll see what KO is lined out. I'll see what the under 1.5 is lined out. And then I'll make my decision. But yeah, pure pick. It's going to be Jailton Almeida versus via round 1 finish. So that's it. That's the whole video. Not much more to say. If you want to sign up and get all of my official picks and predictions, and come and cash with the team and stop watching from the sidelines, watching us win every single week that we do, then go to lucrative@mmabetting.com and you can get all of my official picks and predictions there. And if you join the Elite Zone, you get an insane amount of content. You get long shot prop bets, you get degenerate parlays, you get full card breakdowns for every single fight, even if we don't have a bet on it. And all of this is for members that want to know where my head's at in regard to other fights and other bets, right? My official picks are separate from that zone, but that zone has been doing extremely well since it started about 4 weeks ago. So that's it, guys. Good luck on your bets this weekend. Hope you cash, and I'll see you in the next video.